Okay, Mary Mahoney, the historical figure in nursing. Mary Mahoney was born in 1845 in Boston, Massachusetts. Her birthday is unknown, but she's the oldest of three siblings. She had one brother named Charles and two sisters named Ellen and Louise. She is the daughter of two freed slaves from North Carolina who escaped due to the harsh slave systems. There was high hostility between African Americans and Irish Americans in Boston, making African Americans work 10 times as hard to be accepted by society. This could have played in a role in Mahoney's success later on. Mahoney went to Phillips Street School from first to fourth grade, where they taught English, math, and science classes, but also morality and humanitarian courses, which could have influenced her decision to become a nurse. The Civil War also officially began several days before her 16th birthday, increasing the need for nurses greatly.
We felt important to bring up the New England Hospital for Women and Children because it took a very progressive and controversial step towards accepting Black students in their nursing program. Just to give you some facts, the hospital was founded by Mary Zakroweska on July 1st, 1862. The hospital's goal was to provide patients with competent female physicians and was one of the few nursing schools in the country in the nursing program. This program was very rigorous and extensive, as you'll see in the next slide. And in 1951, the hospital changed its name to the New England Hospital to be more inclusive and started giving care to men. And also in 1969, it changed its name to the Dimock Community Health Center based on a surgeon that was working on the hospital.
So, regarding Mahoney's work within the hospital, she worked at the hospital for 15 years before entering the nursing program, cooking, cleaning, and just doing various jobs alongside nurses to help support her family. She enrolled in the program on March 23rd, 1878, with no entrance fee. Even though Mahoney was 2 years above the age limit, they still accepted her into the program based on her interviews where she overcame ageism. Mahoney worked for 16-hour days for 16 months. 12 of the months included regular experience on maternal and surgical floors, while she also was attending lecture classes. And then 4 months included working at the side of a private nurse, which heavily influenced her career choice later on. Out of the 42 students enrolled, only 4 graduated the program, one of them being Mary Mahoney, who became the first African American licensed nurse. And then here is a picture of the hospital at the time.
After graduating, Mary Mahoney dove into the private practice nursing field. And just to give you a fact, a private practice nurse is a nurse who attends an individual patient, usually on fee-for-service basis. The patient is hired. The patient hires their own nurse who cares for them either in their home or in the hospital. This patient moves around consistently through families, basically working for 24 hours a day. This is very hard considering that the transportation and the difficulties that she had to go through throughout time. And she went to the private practice nursing because of the discrimination she felt she thought she would face in the public sector. But that led to her joining the private practice nursing.
So Mahoney's experience in private practice nursing, as kind of mentioned, she went into private practice to avoid that discrimination at the time. Many white patients would have refused to be treated by Black healthcare workers. So to avoid that, she registered with the Boston Medical Library for nursing. And this ensured that she would be treating patients who truly wanted her knowledge and skills. She was requested by wealthy families all over the country. As she began her career, she went from New Jersey to Washington to North Carolina, where her parents originated from. She was also praised by wealthy families often, who then recommended her to other families. And through this, she helped break down racial barriers and created relationships between the two groups. In a way, Mahoney used discrimination in public nursing and turned it into an advantage to be successful in private practice nursing.
Mahoney was always a fighter for equality. She was always advocating for equality throughout her nursing life. She was one of the first Black members in the Nurses Association, alumni of United States and Canada, which today is known as the American Nurses Association. She later got to the idea of forming a black an association for Black people, which she co-founded, as, which was called the National Association of Color Graduate Nurses. She she can be seen as a champion for other Black nurses. She fought along many different aspects of racism to get to that stage.
Mahoney also advocated for women's rights. She was never married and lived a very private life, but she was known for spending a lot of time with her family. After the 19th Amendment passed, she was also one of the first women registered to vote in Boston and encouraged other women to do the same. Since nursing is such a heavily female populated specialty, even now, but even more during Mahoney's time, it is believed that nursing could have affected her into advocating for women's rights.
Howard Orphanage Asylum. This asylum was founded in 1866 by the Black community, and it's located in Long Island, New York. This orphanage provided services for Black homeless children. These services include feeding, sheltering, and also educating. Mary Mahoney became the director of this orphanage in 1911 up to 1912.
So later on in Mahoney's life, she developed metastatic breast cancer and fought hard for 3 years. On December 7th, 1926, she was brought back to the New England Hospital for Women and Children to be treated for as a patient, where she first started her career 25 years before. She passed away January 4th, 1926, and now rests in Woodland Lawn Cemetery in Everett, Massachusetts. Later, the NACGN merged with the NAAUSC, which we now know as the ANA, and created the Mary Mahoney Award. Here is Jackie Taylor, the 2018 recipient of the award, and here's a picture of the award itself. They created this award about 10 years after she passed away, and Mahoney also resides in the Women's Hall of Fame.
The everlasting effects of Mahoney's work can be felt throughout generations. Mahoney will forever be remembered for what she has accomplished in her life and her milestone. She paved the way for other Black nurses to be nurses in the nursing field. I am an example of that. It's one of the reasons I'm studying nursing is because of the achievements she accomplished, and also she contributed the fight for equality of women. It's still felt today. Her fight against voting for women, for equality of women, still is because one of the reasons that women have the right to vote today.
And then here are our works cited.